Good evening, folks. Again, I'm trying to drink this tea and trying to get through these videos without hurting my voice too much. I had my window cracked. I've closed it as the temperature drops outside. Maybe that'll help a little bit. So, this is directed towards Quirk Zone, who, is a channel I watch and enjoy. Let me pull this in so the voice picks up a little better. Make a lot of videos on UFOs, UAPs, and we both have our views on Putin and the current global situation. So this is a little off topic, but it's not, okay? I am concerned about what's going on with Ukraine. First of all, I hate bullies. I don't like Vladimir Putin, and to be quite frank with you, I don't like Donald Trump. And I believe the two are heavily connected. Furthermore, I am very concerned about a nuclear conflict. I mean, the rules just change when nuclear weapons are involved. If there were no nuclear weapons in the world, I would be a stronger advocate for the United States intervening. But quite frankly, when you have a nuclear armed superpower confronting another nuclear armed superpower and nuclear armed allies, perhaps on both sides, is a volatile situation, and we owe it to ourselves as a civilization and a planet to attempt to contain or de-escalate this problem. For example, Biden, said he's sending stingers. And honestly, I believe that the Republicans, if they were in office, would do the same thing or maybe ask for direct intervention. But I also think there's people in the Republican Party that are, sane enough to say we don't want a potential nuclear conflict. But I personally believe that that may be escalating things too much. However, I'm very sympathetic to the Ukrainians. I am a bit torn. But what does this have to do with UFOs, UAPs? Well, many people think that the UAPs, UFOs are here to save us, or they're completely benevolent and they're observing. I mean, if they're here, they have to be observing. My theory about the UFOs, UAPs, if they are representatives of alien tech, I don't think that they have daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly flights or passages from our planet to solar systems far, far away, light years away. Because of the regularity of the occurrences and the consistency, I think they are based on this planet or within the solar system or within our region. No way to prove that, but that's just my mind trying to make sense of this. If they are observing, then they must know what's going on. So if there's an intervention, that would be some definitive proof that there is an alien presence and that they take a hand in human affairs. It's almost like trying to make an argument for God. You can be a staunch believer in God, in a almighty, all-powerful God, and you don't necessarily have to accept the idea that God intervenes. That God may be an all-powerful God that is merciful, is not merciful, is present, is not present, intervenes, doesn't intervene. You can only go by what you see. And same for technologically advanced aliens that have capabilities of flight, maneuver, power, observation that we do not. I have heard stories of UFOs shutting down nuclear facilities, things like that. I mean, boy, do we need that, at least in the short term. Maybe in the long term, it might hurt us because then we're not capable of controlling our own problems, right? And I get that. But one thing I would say look out for, if you are involved in the study of these things, and it is becoming much more mainstream, thankfully, finally. I even saw, I didn't yet watch a lecture, but there's a local community college from somewhere, and the professor's giving a lecture on it saying, how should this topic be studied scientifically? How should we view it scientifically? That was something you didn't see very much in academic circles these days. It's certainly not on the community college level, right? I think if you are involved in the study of this thing, you should carefully observe what's going on in the skies above Ukraine and Russia. Because if the aliens are interested in watching but not intervening, or watching and intervening, one would think that there would be more activity, UFO, UAP activity, over these, air zones, flight zones. Because if there's more activity on the ground, there's more to observe, and therefore there would be more observation. That makes sense to me, but that's just my mind, right? For example, the Galileo project, whatnot. If they have any sensors up, if they could deploy these sensors, deploying them to observe what's going over there might be fruitful. I don't know. I have a strong suspicion that this UFO UAP phenomena is, going more mainstream, not necessarily because of an intended slow titrated disclosure, but because our technology keeps getting better and our civilian technology keeps getting better. We have a global GPS system up, so on and so forth, and it just gets harder and harder to ignore this, right? Corkzone talked about the presence of cell phones making it impossible or far harder to do media blackouts on things like this, right? And I think he is correct. So if the aliens are interventionist and benevolent, then I would ask them, hey, can you just make sure that no nukes are launched during the course of this, right? Incidentally, if you could make your presence known, unequivocally, objectively observable and sensible to the entire world, skeptic or not, this would be a good time, because it might actually help defuse or de-escalate the situation. And I would say the same thing of the creator, the divine creator. However you choose to view it, whatever your religion, if you believe in multiple creators, there's so many ways to view this, but this would be a good time to give unambiguous evidence of presence and benevolence. But then, I've heard people say God is like aliens and aliens is like God. Often they seem like non-interventionists. Something to think about, right? I mean, we talk about the vast technological gulf between us and the aliens. I mean, it's a lot like the vast technological gulf between, say, a country like Afghanistan and a country like Russia in terms of technology and in terms of the nukes especially. There are certain technologies that are just deal breakers, right? Game changers. For example, if Ukraine had aircraft that had the same payload capabilities, the same, machine gun, capabilities that any other plane has, but they could maneuver at the speeds and with the agility of the UAPs, it would be a completely different story. As it is, I think the Ukrainian Air Force has slightly inferior aircraft, or similar in terms of capabilities to the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union has yet to establish air superiority, and it's making a difference in the war. Afghanistan, on the other hand, they have aircraft, but they barely have a functional air force. They don't have nukes. There's just a lot that they don't have, and the equipment that we left there, much of it they cannot operate. They cannot competently operate. They cannot competently maintain. And a lot of it's 1980s technology or 1990s technology. Can you imagine what a difference some of this technology would make in a conflict like this, right? Just something to think about. What about medical technology? One thing I heard, Isaac Arthur, who's a YouTuber, science and futurist, says that, if you have life extension technology, you've part of it has to include cellular repair, because if you live long enough, the decay of radioactive isotopes in your own body will sooner or later begin to kill you, right? And you've got to find a way to repair and regenerate that. You're traveling through space. Say your ship travels faster than light, but you're traveling 100 light years and you do it in 10 years. 10 years in space, you're exposed to all kinds of radiation. They've got to have some kind of preservation technology, shielding technology, and or medical technology, or all of the above. That could be applied to humans. Think of what that could do. If, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. If I could rejuvenate my body, I mean, that would extend my lifespan, but probably also my capabilities. If I could repair all the damage that has occurred to my body from both use and age. I mean, think about it. If you had the ability to completely repair any muscle damage, you could work out 10 times harder and get much stronger. You could reach your capacity in ways that you couldn't, because you're dependent on the recovery your body has and the whatever medical care you have available, right? So while we are looking at what's going on in Ukraine and with the Ukrainians and Russians, let us keep our eyes open and see, is there any signs of UFO UAP activity? Is anyone else but us observing all of this? This technology appears to be alien to us. For all I know, these civilizations could have started on Earth. Maybe we had a technological civilization, come up 100 million years ago or a billion years ago on this planet, and then it went spaceborne, and then all kinds of disasters happened on Earth, wiping out evidence of their existence, and here we are, the next generation. So this is all speculation. I'm having a little bit of fun with it, but as you think about a potential nuclear conflict that could potentially end all life on Earth, end our civilization, you do want to think about these things, right? Anyway, thank you, Quirk Zone, for watching. It was encouraging that you're watching my videos and leaving comments. I certainly watch yours. We're very different people, but we do have similar interests, and we look at some of the same topics in different ways, and sometimes the same way. So kudos, man. Have a good night.